In breaking news, Donald Trump has now signed that executive order imposing a blanket 25% tariff on steel and aluminium. But after indicating there would be no carve-outs or exemptions, the Prime Minister says one is now on the table after an early morning phone call with the President. This phone call happened just, well, you'd have to say an hour before the official signing of this trade tariff of 25%. Live now to Cameron Redden, he's in Canberra for us. So we have here Donald Trump signing these trade tariffs. We're going to get vision of that very shortly. And then this phone call happening between him and Anthony Albanese. So it's not an exemption yet, but it certainly seems like the signs are good. But nothing is set in stone until it is, especially with this president.
That's exactly right, Laura. It will help Australia's case that Anthony Albanese would have been one of the last voices in Donald Trump's ear before the pen hit that paper. We can show you an image from inside the Prime Minister's office where this phone call took place a little earlier this morning. Donald Trump is going through signing another raft of these executive orders right now. It is worth noting that the exact phrasing of these words was very particular. The Prime Minister says that these exemptions, or an exemption for Australia, is under consideration. Now, there's reporting coming out of the room where Donald Trump is signing these executive orders at the moment, which has attributed a quote to the President saying there will be no exemptions for steel and aluminium. So whether there has been consideration taken and a decision made between that phone call and the pen hitting the paper, we have to wait and see on that, Laura, and whether those conversations will be ongoing. The Prime Minister, though, is adamant that he has had some kind of success here. It isn't a yes, it isn't a firm guarantee that these tariffs will not be applied on Australia, but he says that now an exemption is under consideration, and he notes that there'll now be a full court press, if you like, in an attempt to persuade all levels of the Trump administration to give Australia a free pass.
So it was a very constructive and warm discussion, again, with President Trump. The US President agreed that an exemption was under consideration in the interests of both of our countries. We'll continue to engage diplomatically, and we, of course, will use all of the human assets at our disposal.
The Prime Minister mentions all human assets being at his disposal. Some of those human assets that the Coalition wants the Prime Minister to tap on the shoulder include the former Prime Minister Scott Morrison, the former Ambassador Joe Hockey, two individuals who had a strong personal relationship with President Trump. The Coalition wants Anthony Albanese to engage these individuals in the conversations, to have a much wider lobbying approach when it comes to finding a way forward for an exemption, even suggesting too that if possible and if practicable, that Anthony Albanese should be able to secure a meeting and visit Donald Trump in Washington before the election, if that was possible.
Yeah, this is a Team Australia, so I would encourage Prime Minister Albanese and Ambassador Rudd to reach out to both Morrison and Hockey. We have a strong case to get an exemption. The Prime Minister just raised some of those cases in his press conference. We have a strong case to get an exemption. The precedent to get an exemption is there, and we should get one.
This was a wide-ranging phone call this morning, Laura. It went for 40 minutes. They spoke as well about Jordan Mailata, the Australian Super Bowl champion. A 40-minute conversation, just the second they have had over the phone, but the first with Donald Trump in the White House again. Laura, we will see over the next even hours just how much that consideration will get Australia and whether we are able to avoid these tariffs that have now been signed into law by the US President.
Yeah, PowerPoint presentations at the ready, Cam. Thank you.